Hello, folks. I'm jWesley, and this guy next to me is Devon Harris. And for those who are seeing us for the first time, thank you for visiting us. For those who know who we are, we represent what we call the American Way Challenge. And I won't go through all of that because we have a prior episode that Devon and I went through. But an overview of the concept is that top level, actually I'll let Devin say it rather than my say it, but my role is we're developing a program. We're going to bring athletes together, top quality Olympic level athletes, with families, with companies that would love to have an avatar, a representative of what we call the American Way Challenge, because I've found out that these athletes live a COVID-19 lifestyle every day of their lives. Uncertainty, challenges, unexpected often, and rather than settle back, they push forward. So the purpose of today is not to talk about Devon so much, but I will give a brief synopsis. This is a guy from Jamaica, West Indies that involved began the bobsledding program for anybody. I think you told me nobody has before you guys got involved that grew up in warm weather countries never did Winter Olympics. Is that a truism?
That is pretty true, definitely. Yeah. So always great to hang out with you, Joe. And I'm not sure if I'm beside you or in front of you or whatever, but we work with being beside you. From Jamaica, you can probably tell by the accent. And yeah, I happen to be one of the guys who were on that very first Jamaican bobsled team, which
Yeah, the book
um,
they did a book on you guys and a movie on you guys,
we're,
right?
there- well, I've written a book, and my teammate has written a book. I've written a couple of books actually,
Mm-hmm.
and yes, they did cool runnings about our story.
Fair enough. The reason I've asked Devin and myself and another gentleman, and you'll hear more about him also, are part of a group, a program that's beginning to heighten the awareness of using athletes, top level athletes, not simply as someone to support every 2 years, but someone to bring into our businesses, into our families, and become a better country because of it for what they represent. Now, brief synopsis of Devon. Besides being at one point a officer in his armed service of country, besides being an athlete, besides being a coach, he's also a motivator, not a motivational speaker. Exactly.
Hmm.
What is that? Okay,
Yes,
fair
motivational
enough.
speaker, mindset coach, the whole works. Yes.
Okay, so he's walked the talk, you might say, and he has a unique perspective from being on the inside and the outside, a continuum of what it's all about. So what I'm asking of Devin today is to, and I'm looking at notes because this is not all intuitive for me because I'm the one that's setting the crowd, say, hey, go on, go on, go on.
Right,
So
right, right.
certainly not intuitive for me, but we're not going to go through again his initial history because that is in a prior note, and that would be listed in the program below. There's a link for that. But the question I'm having for you now: how do you feel that your history of being an athlete? Well, first off, you're an innovator. You weren't someone that said that, geez, can't do track and field this summer. In fact, tell me the story on that. I like that story about why you thought running may not be the most viable option for you.
Well, it's funny you ask that because I don't know. I often say that I didn't really choose bobsledding. It chose me. I
Mm-hmm.
fancied myself as a middle distance runner, although I'm from Jamaica. That's part of the problem, right? Everybody sprints fast
Mm-hmm.
except me. And so I ran middle distances and had aspirations of competing in the Summer Olympics, of course, in the 800 and 1500 meters. But then two Americans came up with the idea to start the bobsled program. I was in the Army, as you mentioned. My colonel suggested that I tried out for the team. And, the way I'm wired, Joe, is that I didn't go there just to the team trials just to be an also ran. Since I
Mm-hmm.
was going to the team trials,
Mm-hmm.
I just had to find a way to make the team. And I did. Um, but as we embark on this program, American Way, to expose or introduce top level athletes to people, and not necessarily to inspire younger Americans, younger people to become Olympians, but that very well may happen because 99% of Olympians were inspired by other Olympians. Just getting a chance to meet them, sometimes up close and personal, other times it's on TV, but recognizing the tremendous feat that they have accomplished, but also seeing that there's a possibility for them to do it as well. Like, if this girl or this guy can do it, then man, maybe I have a shot. And so it's, I'm looking forward to getting things underway. I think it's a really important endeavor that we're taking on, just kind of introducing these larger than life, seemingly larger than life figures to people to see that they're actually real people.
What I'm impressed by, Devon, is that an opportunity. I have a philosophy. I have several, but I won't share all of them. I won't burden you with that. But I do believe if opportunity knocks, even if you're not in the mood for company, at least see who's at the door. And I think Devon has done that very nicely to where he is now. So if you could describe to me, to our audience also, a motivational speaker, and what was your official title again as a coach?
Oh, right. So on the team, so for 4 years, I actually single-handedly ran the program. I was the Secretary General of the Jamaica bobsled program. A few years ago for about 4 years. Prior to that, obviously, I was an athlete. In Calgary, I was a pusher, the number 2 guy on that 4-man sled, and then I became a driver and drove the sled in 1992 and 1998, and served as team captain during that time as well. So I've had multiple roles in the program: the spokesperson, the head cook and bottle washer. But that's the thing that Olympic athletes do, man. Whatever you need to do, you get it done.
How do you feel that provides you an edge on motivating people on a non-athletic environment? I'm assuming that's also a part of what you do. Having that insider's perspective, having that mindset, and I say mindset because I really thought initially it was you had physical skill, and if you trained hard enough, long enough, that things would happen well. But I understand at least 50% of the effort is in your head as opposed to in your body. Is that true or not?
Well, definitely a large percentage. And I love that mindset, because I think in everything that you do, in every aspect of our lives, the thing that is going to, one of the things that plays a huge role in the extent to which we succeed or fail is our mindset, is the attitude with which we approach this thing. Nothing is going to necessarily come easy to us. Anything that is worth having, and I hate to sound like a cliche here, but if it's worth having, you're gonna have to make some effort. You're gonna have to get out of our comfort zone, and that's something that we've been doing, Joe, since we were toddlers. Man, you had to, if you have young kids, or have had young kids, you remember the fear and the trepidation on their faces as they learn to stand, learn to take that first step, right? But they were willing to face the fear and the possibility of falling over, to make those steps. And it's a mindset, it's an attitude that I am unwilling to do without the idea of walking. And we have to have that in our own lives as well. So yes, as a motivational speaker and coach, I share those ideas and those insights with people across many industries and companies. And obviously, being an Olympic athlete, being a retired military guy, I get to tell true stories. I get to share insights from my own personal experiences, not things that I wrote in a book. And I should I say read in a book. And what's one of the wonderful things that I've discovered about the success journey is that the principles are universal, man. So the scenarios may change and circumstances may be a little bit different, but it's the same principle, starting with this idea of mindset that I'm going to apply to as a guy from Jamaica bobsledding, the same way a novice is going to apply to them trying to become a salesperson.
So I'd like to make a point when I listen to this concept of mindset that admittedly, I don't quite get it. It sounds educational and it sounds informative, but I don't quite get it. What grabbed my focus on what you were saying, Devon, a while back in an earlier dialogue was that you said with COVID last year, I guess this time, and they were talking about the Summer Olympics, and there was still some question up to as recently as maybe 2 months before. Was it going to happen or not?
Mm-hmm.
So athletes had really a reason to maybe back up a little bit, or maybe it might affect their mindset. But if you heard you correctly, you said there were more track and field trial records set in the history of the Olympics, yes? Even though there was an uncertainty about the value of that effort. And that to me is what grabbed me about this mindset concept that you're talking about. Is that a fair
Yeah, but
representation?
that is mindset. That is part of it. The mindset is really about the way you think about the possibilities as they exist for you. The attitude with which you face every single day. Are you one who sees the glass half empty or half full?
Mm-hmm.
And that's a mindset issue. It's a perspective issue. Now, if you see possibilities as opposed to dead end, then you're going to make the effort. And so when we think about the athletes who competed in Tokyo, almost at last year, it was actually earlier this year, 2021 summer, or those who are going to compete next year in
Mm-hmm.
Beijing, like the rest of us, they were living in a world of uncertainty. They didn't know what was going to happen, but what they knew was that if the games did in fact happen, they couldn't wait until that announcement was made before
Mm-hmm.
they started preparing. So they
Right.
started preparing. They prepared and continued to prepare with the expectation that the games were going to happen, and when it happened, they better be ready.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why you had, despite the tremendous challenges that they had preparing, so many amazing performances, across the world. It was I was mildly surprised that, as I said, the number of records that fell and just the high level of performances that we saw.
One of the concepts of mindset that comes to mind is like putting blinders on, I guess, that you can allow the external moment, however valid it will be, to distract you, or you focus. And and perhaps you use the uncertainty as a stimulant, perhaps even to focus even more, to not be detracted or distracted or whatever it may be. And I'm not clear
Mhm.
my question, but is that kind of your concept of mindset of an
Well,
athlete?
if I could go back a little bit, a professor from Stanford, she wrote a book actually, Carol Dweck. She mentioned that there are two mindsets basically. There's a fixed mindset and the growth mindset. And the
Okay.
fixed person with a fixed mindset are those who kind of feel like, man, the level of skill and talent and ability I have, this is it. There's nothing more I can do. I can't learn anything else. This is what life gave me, and this is my station in life, as it were. And
Mm-hmm.
so those people never work to push themselves to get to the next level, to become better,
Mm-hmm.
because in their mind they're stuck. So they will not be the Olympic athlete,
Okay.
um, for one for better example. And then the people with a growth mindset are the ones who believe that they can always learn new skills, they can always improve if they push themselves, if they work.
Mm-hmm.
They will find themselves in challenging situations, and rather than go, "Oh, woe is me, I'm the victim, COVID-19, there's nothing I can do,"
Mm-hmm.
they're like, okay, there's all these things over here I have absolutely no control over,
Mm-hmm.
but there are these one or two things that I can control.
Okay.
So in the case of the athlete, they can't control the fact that stadiums are closed or swimming pools are closed or gyms are closed. But guess what? Parks are open.
Mm-hmm.
They can go run. They can do push-ups. You know what I mean? They find ways to work away and through and around the issues, the challenges that they face to help them to continue to grow and get better. And that mindset or that way of thinking applies in every other aspect of our lives.
Okay. Thank you for that. That ties into our concept again of the American Way Challenge. There will be more information coming out on that. I want to thank you, Devon, for your comments, your participation in our program. And folks, we'll be back again soon. Any final words you'd like to take home? Have us take home with Devon.
No, it's always great to be able to hang out with you, man. And I think this it's a really important conversation, around mindset. And I just want to challenge and encourage people to challenge themselves if they, and maybe you have a fixed mindset in a certain area of your life, and that's okay, as long as you recognize it and then you start making an effort to change that, because it is true that our potential is unlimited, and you just again have to watch an Olympic athlete, somebody who started out just like you, didn't even know how to walk once upon a time, and now is, competing at the Olympic Games and setting records. So, okay, you may not be an Olympic athlete, but you're an Olympian in life.
Sounds good. I like that. Olympian in life. Sounds good. Folks, we'll be back again. Keep touch. Remember to subscribe. If you have any questions, feel free to share that back on us. We do audit, input, and we will get back to you with responses or things you'd like to get better sense of. Have a good journey until we reach out to you guys again.